Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all doing well. Please excuse all of the craziness and the mess that's going on behind me. Myself and my coworkers are all heavily involved in summer reading club this summer, so there's a lot of stuff going on behind me to do with that. I'm so excited to be with you guys today to lead you guys through this very cute and fun craft that we're offering our patrons. We're going to be making some very fun upcycled coasters for you to enjoy in your home, and I'm just going to take a moment to just do an overview of the supplies that we're going to be using today. So we're going to be using CDs or DVDs, white paint, sandpaper, fabric pieces, Mod Podge, felt, and paintbrushes and foam brushes, as well as fabric glue. Now, all of those items have been included in the correct proportions in each of your kits, so there's no need to worry about sourcing those. The only things that we haven't provided you with are scissors, as well as a ruler, which is optional. You don't need one for this craft, but you can feel free to use one, as well as markers. So let's just dive right in and get to it. So we're going to start out by tracing an outline of our CD onto the provided fabric that's included in your guys' kits. The only caution that I do want to give everybody for this step, you can see in the video that I'm using a black Sharpie marker, but if you do have a piece of light fabric like I do in the video, when you cut it out later, you just want to be conscious of really making sure that you get close to those edges of ink when you cut it out, otherwise they will be visible on the final product. So just something to consider. So now we're going to move on to sanding off the glossy coating of the CD. One thing that I do want to emphasize in this step is that it is not super critical to the craft that you spend forever and ever sanding off every last little bit of the paint or of the coating that's on your CD. Really, the goal of this step is just to get enough of it off so that we're going to be able to apply some layers of paint at a later step, and the paint is going to have a non-slippery surface that it will be able to adhere to and stick. You can kind of do whatever technique works for you. I sanded it a little bit flat on a surface. I also pick it up and put it in my hand. It's kind of just whatever allows you to get the best grip. And then once you're finished sanding, you want to just give it a quick wipe because it does make a little bit of a mess. And then we will move on to the next step, which is going to be painting the surface of the CDs. So now we're going to move on to the painting step of this coaster craft. You can see that for this craft, we've provided you guys with white acrylic paint, and the goal of this step is going to be to apply 2 separate coats of white paint to the side of the CD that we just sanded in the previous step. There isn't any need to apply any paint to the bottom side because ultimately all we're going to do is be gluing a piece of felt for traction onto the bottom, and it's obviously going to be against the surface of a table or whatever else you put these on, so you're never going to see it anyways. You can totally feel free to paint it if you like. I think that I did just a quick little coat in mine just for good measure, but it's totally a personal decision and it's up to you. It's not going to affect the final product at all. The only other thing to note for this step, with these foam brushes, there are some regular paint brushes included, but I used the foam brush. You just kind of want to use that dabbing technique to make sure that you're spreading out the paint adequately over the CD. It does tend to get a little bit soaked into the brush if you don't do this. As well, in between each of the coats, you just want to make sure that you're giving each of the CDs enough time to dry so that the second coat is actually going to go on over top. So yeah, we'll finish up this step and finish painting, and then we will move on. So now it's time to backtrack a little bit, and we're going to go back and cut out that circle that we traced of our CD onto our fabric. You can see that I've kind of already cut a little bit out of it in the video just to save us some time, and I'm sure that nobody wants to watch me cut out the whole thing. But the point is that we just want to make sure that, especially if you're on a light piece of fabric, that you're getting really close to that edge of the colored ink that's going to be on there, just because you will be able to see it on the final product. Yeah, and then cut it out and just set it aside for now. So now we're going to take our piece of felt and the optional ruler as well as our marker again, and we're going to take a moment and cut out a 3" by 3" circle piece of felt. The pieces that are provided in your kits are just over that. I believe that they're a 4" by 4" square. You can see that I do not do an amazing job of cutting a perfect circle. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfectly 3 inches by 3 inches. This is kind of just a proportionate size of a circle that works well with the size of the CDs. But the important part is just that this is going to provide a barrier between the plastic below the CD and whatever surface you put it on. So as long as it's large enough to provide a little bit of a cushion for that, then whatever size you end up cutting or whatever shape you end up cutting is going to be perfectly fine. So now we're just going to take a moment and take that piece of felt that we just traced a circle onto, and we're just going to cut it out. Again, if there are any marks from the marker or any irregular shapes that are part of this piece, it really won't make any difference because it's going to be below the coaster, and you're not going to be able to see it anyways, so you don't need to worry about these being dirty or having pen marks or anything like that, because they will be totally hidden. So just cut that out and then set it aside for now. So now we're going to move on to the step where we're going to be taking the included fabric glue in your kits, and we're going to be gluing the little piece of felt that we just cut out onto the bottom side of the CD. In your kits, the fabric glue is going to all be divided into little containers, so you won't be doing this step where you're squeezing it out of the bottle, but using something from your home or just kind of dumping it out of the container, you just kind of want to make sure that you get some even coverage around that little middle area of the CD, just to make sure that the piece of felt is securely fastened down and it's not going to move anywhere if it's moving around on a table or if you stack them or what have you. So you're just going to put that glue on and then pop that piece of felt right over top and let it dry. So now we're going to move on to the step where we're going to be applying a layer of Mod Podge on top of the CD so that we can stick the circle of fabric that we cut out onto the top of the CD. In these kits, I have provided you guys all with regular paintbrushes in contrast to just the foam brushes. So I did find that this was a little bit easier to spread the Mod Podge out with, just because the foam brushes are great, but sometimes a lot of the product does get kind of absorbed into the brush itself and it can be hard to spread it around. So you do want to make sure that you're doing a really good job of evenly coating the whole surface of the CD with Mod Podge, just because it's going to affect how well the piece of fabric is going to stick onto its surface. So really make sure that you're taking your time to get around the edges as well, because that can be a common area where the edges are going to peel up or the fabric won't stick, or if you're sliding cups and glasses onto and off of the coasters, sometimes they can cause the edges to pop up a little bit. So once you've got a good coating, you're going to just take your piece of fabric and just be conscious of the fact that this is very sticky. And then you're going to pop it right over top, right in the middle, and then just use your fingers to delicately press down the edges and just make sure that the fabric is really stuck down well with the glue. And then after that, we're going to allow this some time to dry and adhere. So now that we've allowed that to dry and the fabric is secured to the CD, we're going to go back in with our Mod Podge and we're going to be doing a top coat of protective Mod Podge to act as a varnish and a seal. Obviously we're going to be putting cups and glasses and bottles and what have you over top of this, so we just want to give it every chance possible to make sure that the fabric is not going to be peeling up when we don't want it to. I also found this step really easy to do with this paintbrush in contrast to the foam brush, and you're just going to really want to make sure that you take your time to make sure that it's evenly saturated. We're going to allow 2 hours in between the first and second coat of Mod Podge just to make sure that it's dry and that the second coat will just kind of reaffirm what we've already put on there. Yeah, and then after this we will take a look at our final product. And here's a super quick look at our final product. Yay, everyone! So I hope that you guys have had as much fun as I have. This is the final product. That's with the felt side down. I really think that these are super cute, and honestly, they were super easy to make. And I hope that you guys have all enjoyed this second craft to go. Have a great day, everyone.